Kia ora everyone, I'm a few days late here with this news on the Avengers Endgame Final Battle set. Instead of just reporting what my thoughts were for this reveal and repeating what everyone else has kind of gone through, I thought I would instead take this to the social groups and see what the general gauge there was for everyone. This here is set 76323 Avengers Endgame Final Battle, which releases on May the 1st, 2025. The set here contains 621 pieces in total and 9 minifigures. I believe at least 3 of those there are exclusive, plus a big fig of Thanos, and this will retail here for 100 USD before tax, and that translates over to $178 NZD, so rounding that up to 180 NZD, which I believe is how much these battle base plate sets cost currently on shelves anyway. This here is a set that we have talked about a couple times in the past with other set rumor and leak videos and such. We have another Endgame Final Battle set releasing sometime later in this year as well, so it's possibly going to be an expansion that can link on with this one. I'm told from people that this set here does have connector clips at the back of the build. My quick thoughts here are the same that everyone else seems to have shared online. Unfortunately, I think that this is a very bad release. On a subjective and personal level, I don't like this sub-theme that they've been doing recently with these big set pieces from the movies being relegated to a flat amalgamation of parts just thrown together in what I personally feel are half-assed builds. I have seen some people exclaim that they are in fact fans of this idea, mostly for the minifigures, but from an objective point of view there, I don't see how this set takes its consumers seriously. It's a bunch of slabs of concrete with 2 minor play features of the ground being flung in the air, but sets like this are acting as display models for the adult market, so it feels like it's a clash where LEGO can't decide if they want to market towards the adults or the kids. The age of the box there clearly indicates that this should be a kids set, but it's also nearly 200 NZD. The set also reuses a bunch of minifigures from previous releases over the last few years, which is always expected and acceptable for the LEGO Marvel line, but the reuses here appear to be from movies that are set after the events of Endgame. The Doctor Strange and Captain America figure are variants from other movies, Doctor Strange being from Multiverse of Madness, which released after Endgame, Captain America being from the Civil War line, which releases before Endgame. Their costumed appearances in that movie are different, so this here is a premium quality assurance fault that LEGO themselves love to claim that they achieve with every release. The torso print on that Doctor Strange minifigure doesn't even link onto the legs properly. Including an Ant-Man based mech to bump up that price is also rather frustrating to see, and because the mech there is built into the set, it also means that it features stickers rather than printed parts like the other mech releases. That means that if the Ant-Man mech was released separately as its own $15 USD set, that version of that set would be of higher quality than this one. It would include prints, not stickers. They also decided to finally make Captain America's shield the broken variant seen in all of those movies, but for reasons that we can only speculate on, they decided to not make a new piece. Instead, they've printed a decal of the broken shield onto the already existing piece, and they use the color of grey to show some negative space. I think it fails in that design ultimately, and it appears many online feel the same. My stance here is that I think that this is a new low for LEGO, and the LEGO Marvel line is actually something that reaches new lows with every release for me. I think I said this about the January wave of 2025, which features some of their worst releases of the theme of all time, and I'm stunned to see that LEGO just continuously dig themselves deeper in this hole. But those are just the base thoughts from myself. For my own interest and now for your entertainment, I took to the social groups to see where everyone else was at. This was revealed through a Facebook group to me in which the original poster clarified in the comments that they felt that this set was appealing for the minifigures, but it looked to be a poor build ultimately. There was a discussion there about the repeat of this theme. I've seen other creators online share this same statement, this idea that LEGO are milking the series and running out of ideas to adapt into sets. So I decided to head over to Brickset and search for myself just how many Avengers Endgame Final Battle sets we've had over the years, and it is pretty surprising to see. Out of the 17 sets released in total for Endgame, now including this upcoming release, I counted at least 4 or 5 genuine sets depending on how you view them, and a dubious maybe 6 releases if you count everything listed there as a set. I was counting everything being based around the sequence of the final battle from Avengers Endgame, or at the very least, sets that were released with the naming convention Avengers Endgame Battle or a variation of those sorts. You do have the first release there, and I think that there's a decent argument to not hold this release in the same field as the others. This here was based on very early stage concept art, and it features a heavier focus on the compound build, which makes for a better build overall. It was just lacking in the accuracy department in hindsight, but we learned that that's because Marvel are so tight-lipped when it comes to their movies, even the toy lines aren't told what's happening. The next set release was labeled Avengers Endgame Final Battle, and so that starts the naming convention immediately. I interpreted this release as an apology for the previous one. It featured a much more accurate displayed scene with figures that matched the sequence more, and it still featured a build of the compound. Sanctuary 2 in-game battle is based on the main enemy ship that appears during the in-game battle sequence. It also features that naming convention of in-game battle. The set here is not quite as similar in build as the others, which is a bonus there, but all three of these figures did appear in other in-game battle based release sets. The next weird release there, and it's one that you can choose to count or not, is simply titled In-Game Battle. It was a figure pack there with a heavy emphasis on Thor Ragnarok, but it featured the figures of Thor and Chitauri Soldier and Valkyrie, figures that were all featured prominently in other battle based sets. The next set was now part of the collection that started this new series of releases. This here is the In-Game Final Battle, with repeats of characters seen in previous sets, and it depicted a very similar design to the final battle with this upcoming release. Now we have Avengers Endgame Final Battle, with another final battle set releasing later on in the year. I think that there's some validity towards the statement that LEGO are just remaking and rehashing previous ideas there, especially when it comes to the Avengers Endgame final sequence. We then had some more general comments from some people. There were claims about how the set appeared to be so generic that it almost looked like AI at first, comments about how these sets were always including a heavier count of heroes than villains. In this instance, we've got one minifigure of a foot soldier plus a big figure of Thanos, versing 8 minifigures for the heroes. And then we had some final general thoughts of concern. I then talked to another group on Facebook where the pool was a lot bigger and more ranged. The complaints there at the end of the day were similar, but more people took time to comment there. 46 comments on this one versus the 17 in the last one. The first claim here was from someone saying that it's actually pretty accurate to Avengers Endgame, with a personal view that the theme has actually always been lacking for years now, so this sort of release shouldn't be all that surprising. I do think it's an interesting point to make there that LEGO are depicting the biggest releases in the franchise for these sets, which coincidentally happen to be very bland in their visual style and direction. The ending of Endgame really is just a concrete mess of a battlefield that isn't very interesting to look at in any way, shape or form, so by making a LEGO set just a slab of concrete, they are technically making an accurate release there. I love the exchange there about the Ant-Man release, in which people were very quick to notice this is supposed to be depicting his change into Giant Man, naturally, but the confusion here comes from a previously released set that is literally in the exact same line as this. This here is the Civil War Airport Battle set, which is by all means another terrible release set in a long list of terrible releases, but this here follows the same pattern as this Avengers Endgame Battle set. It's a flat concrete display featuring a lot of minifigures, and it's priced at 180 NZD. The Giant Man inclusion there was of the construction figure type build, another sub-theme from the LEGO line that they then shoehorned into another set there. This set here released just recently at the start of 2025, so both of these sets will be available on shelves at the same time, both featuring two different types of builds for Ant-Man, which are both just other sub-themes of LEGO unnecessarily shoved into a battle-based set. I love this image here showing off the downfall of LEGO Ant-Man to Giant Man builds. For reasons that we don't understand, LEGO began the operation with the best kind of release back in 2016, and they've just released misstep after misstep after misstep ever since. This user here stating that the set is an eyesore, featuring criticisms in all the departments that we've covered there and sharing the general thoughts that seem to be shared amongst everyone else. And it was actually this exchange here that pointed out to me that the set doesn't feature any form of the Infinity Gauntlet, which is the entire point of this encounter. We don't have anything for Iron Man or for Thanos there to be fighting over. The overall thoughts from this seem to be an overwhelmingly negative response in these Facebook groups. It's likely that with this kind of a track record, we won't be seeing these display battle type sets for many more waves in the future. It feels like people are just about done with these types of releases now, what with the lacking figure inclusions and poor executions of the build. My thoughts there are the same as everyone else. I wish that this was better, but it feels like a waste of my money, so I would rather go elsewhere. I'd be very curious to know what other people think about this set, especially if you're in the positive pool, so whatever your thoughts are, you should let me know down below. Liking this video there and subscribing to the channel does help to support with more videos like this one in the future. Thanks for watching everyone, ka kite anō, take care, hope to see you all next time.